Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blockchain Marketing Insights. Hope you've all had a very happy Valentine's Day, and I hope that that market is treating you right, buying at the lows, getting ready for the next sell-off at the all-time highs, whenever that will be. And we're starting off today with some lovely memes recaptured by Lapzilla. A nice one. Bought at lows. Slow mode in. ATH sell off. Hardcore hodler. Love that. Why Lambo? Yeah, that's the way you do it. That's how it's done. Ooh, man in a revolution. Inside revolutionary. Bought the dips. Okay then.
For your last 10 transactions, please press 1.
Like a wall. Oh yes, I keep the bank rolling.
Nice. Oh, oh, oh. There you go. Damn. Sure, because who doesn't want to do that at night? That's, yeah. Nice one. Hey there. Hey you guys, if you're just joining us, welcome to Crypto Marketing Insights. We're just starting the day off. A little bit of some funny memes. And there you go. There's a bear. Nice bear. Sweet. Okay. Alright, we're just gonna take a quick moment to say hey, welcome to everybody. We don't need to play this whole thing, I guess, whatever. Or let's whatever, we're almost at the end. Let's do this. Sold a nice one. Sold a next all-time high. That's how you do it. Right, excellent. Alright, so again, that is put out by Lapzilla. You all know who that is, right? Yeah. Okay then. Hope you enjoy that. And check out that video and others on that channel if you want some fun. Today we're actually looking at a market cap of 121 billion, so it went up about $1 billion or $2 billion since yesterday, depending on what time of day you last looked at it. But generally speaking, it's still pretty flat over the past six, 7 days since the spike. The 7 to 10% rally that happened last week. That happened within the span of 40 minutes or something like that, so it's hard to really call it a rally. It was just a price spike, and the prices have stayed there for the most part. Yeah, in Litecoin's day, it was a little bit of a earlier start to the rally, but effectively their rally has trailed off roughly similar to Bitcoin's pattern, and you can see pretty much all the patterns there. Tron continues to deal with that descending line since about once the rally happened, which coincided with their latest airdrop with BTT. And you can see, generally speaking, although the market is fairly up in the top 10, it's a mixed bag, with a couple of them going down a little bit, but very small amounts. Even the gains aren't that spectacular overall, but I mean, for crypto, all right, between 0 and 5% for the most part, either way, either direction. So not significant changes on the market, and that's kind of to be expected when the market is moving the way it is and the trading volume is descending And there's eventually going to be, you know, one of these moments where it comes close to some point in a wedge or a triangle or whatever shape these TA guys make on their pretty little graphs, and then it's going to move one way up or down, because that's what prices do, right? And Bitcoin and cryptos like Ethereum and XRP, they tend to move somewhat violently sometimes. You know, a few $100 or a few $1,000, pretty soon you're talking about real money, you know. All right, so with everybody that I see here, if you're here and you want to give a shout out or send in a question, by all means do so, and we will be answering any questions we see from the VIP room. Whoa, if you're here and you want to check that out, that's crazy. Okay, we had a repeat there, bit of an echo there. So feel free to drop questions. If we see any questions coming in from the YouTube, we will address them just as we do from the VIP room. So by all means, let us know. Ooh, what is this? Yeah, here we go. Okay. There's one big story really today. Well, there's many. But if you want to actually look at one big story of today, you know what? We were going to look at the Android, but actually we're just going to skip that today. So we're just going to not go through Android. But if you do want to have a good idea of an analysis and you have not been to this channel before and you don't know about Android, check it out, enroyd.com, ENROYD.com. It's a very useful AI tool. But you got to, you know its limitations, obviously. It's not a crystal ball. It's just really a very useful tool to look at indications and get a sense of what may or may not be. Anyway, here's the big story of today. I'm just bringing you the version on the screen that is over at Cointelegraph. But this is really the main story of the past 24 hours. And that story is that JP Chase is launching JPM Coin. And they're going to use that crypto to speed settlements and payments, right, between their branches, which are obviously around the world, and between customers of theirs, private clients, corporate clients, whatever, investment institutions. So they can use it internally, and it's basically a cryptocurrency they're making called JPM Coin. And they announced it yesterday, Valentine's Day. Isn't that nice? So essentially, this is a tool to allow JPM Coin to manage payments better. So it's kind of a private ledger, right? Because they don't say anything here about, well, so far in the article, they don't say anything here about making it available publicly, and in fact, it isn't available publicly, and it won't be available publicly. It's just an internal coin. So essentially, it's a spreadsheet, a fancy spreadsheet without any real necessity, right? So, but they say, this guy Umar Farouk, who is the guy leading the blockchain focus for JP Morgan, for JPM's coin. He says the applications are frankly quite endless. Anything where you have a distributed ledger, which involves corporations or institutions, can use this. Yeah, okay. So yeah, just let's keep in mind, this is JP Morgan, the same company led by Jamie Dimon, who is possibly the industry's biggest trash talker. He is, one of the leading naysayers against Bitcoin, although he loves blockchain. And he's very specific and adamant about he loves blockchain. He's loved blockchain for a long time. But he doesn't like Bitcoin. It's only used by gangsters, fraudsters, and drug smugglers and terrorists, right? Apparently, I guess, so that means that Bitcoin's used by Mexicans, Mr. Trump, Mr. Coin, Mr. Diamond, I don't know. It's ridiculous the FUD he has spread about Bitcoin over the years. And at the same time, he has ordered his employees to buy some of the biggest bags of Bitcoin anywhere on the planet. Right? So JP Morgan Chase Bitcoin buyers have been accumulating Bitcoin at a rate greater than pretty much almost anyone else. and or if they're not right, right near the top, if they're not number 1 or 2 or 3, they're like number 4 or 5. Like they're way up in the numbers in terms of how much Bitcoin they own. So why does a bank, why does such a huge bank, like America's biggest bank essentially, or whatever, why do they need to have their own cryptocurrency? What good will that do for them? Well, again, to do internal payments, it allows them to basically have a more efficient, more cost-effective way to settle payments without all these international transfer fees and everything else. They can just use their own coin pegged to the dollar, convert it once at the destination if they need to convert it into a different currency to whoever's receiving it. If it's their own internal banking, they don't have to convert it to anything if they can just hold everything in their crypto instead of in dollars and local currencies, and then they just convert them out whenever they need. Right? So, again, this is JP Morgan. So the JPM coin, which, again, not available to anyone except JP Morgan itself, being launched to basically do what, in many ways, like Ripple or Bitcoin or Ethereum could do. Why they have to use their own coin should not surprise anyone. I've been saying for a while, as others have been, that JP Morgan would eventually cut the lever, pull the lever on when they are ready to start talking positively about their involvement in cryptocurrency and how the market should be involved in it. And look, just earlier this week, you had someone say that they now like Bitcoin and it has a possibility of doing well. It was a senior Bitcoin analyst from JP Morgan. And one of the guys who's been trash talking it just as badly as Jamie Dimon for the past 2 years. Now all of a sudden he likes it. Oh, look at that, just on schedule, just like we said. When the market hits the lows and they're ready to flip the switch, they're going to start massaging the story the other way so that when they're ready, get set, on your marks, get set, and they're about to go, they will be primed for being positive. Their storyline will be, oh no, we've always been positive. Look, you can look back stories as back as, February 2019. We've been positive since then. Right? So if the market turns around in 2019 at any point, or 2020, they will have had now a year of accumulating at cheap, at relatively cheaper and cheaper rates. And from between now and the time the market turns around, they will be able to accumulate and build this positive storyline around cryptocurrency. And at the same time, they get to show off to their investors or shareholders or whatever that they are involved in cryptocurrency, and they even have their own cryptocurrency that they use to save money, which I'm sure their shareholders will love, because why not? Everybody likes to save money. Good for them. So they'll be able to get more profits probably somehow, or nicer bonuses or whatever at the upper levels of management. And yeah, that's what we have there. So the reason that I even covered this today is partly because this is not a story that should be ignored. Not because it's going to be, I think, a significant crypto. I don't think they're even kidding themselves that it's going to be. It's not intended to be a significant crypto, except that they claim it could be, because something like 80% of the Fortune 500 companies bank with JP Morgan, and they represent many other banks, right? They are the bank of many other banks and other financial institutions around the world, and very wealthy individuals, and et cetera, et cetera. So they could be a significant coin in and of their own self, in the sense of, yeah, they're making their assets into a unified asset platform. So yeah, of course it's significant. They're one of the largest banks in the world. But that doesn't mean it's going to be commonly available, and it doesn't mean anybody's going to ever enjoy the fruits of that particular labor outside of their company, right? So it's just an internal company thing to get, pats on the back, bigger bonuses, to appear to be doing something as a useful use case, all the good reasons, but that are really just PR. because they don't need this. They could easily use another crypto for this if they really wanted to do this without any harm being done to their company. And they could customize it however they wanted so it could do exactly what they need. But no, they got to make their own. They want to be different. And they want to be seen as leaders, even though they're some of the biggest trash talkers of this industry to date. Well, you know, they're probably going to get away with it because money talks. And they're able to do stuff that a lot of other companies just don't have access to. Good for them. They've worked hard and made a successful company. But let's be real here. This is JP Morgan. These guys have been trash talking blockchain stuff, not just Bitcoin, by the way, but specifically Bitcoin. They've been trash talking a lot of stuff in the ecosystem, and now they're starting to turn their tune because it's obviously they've gotten to the point where they're, you know, warming up to the idea of warming up the market again and getting ready for large and significant sales. So just keep in mind, you know, whether you're buying any kind of coin, who you're doing business with and what their real history is. Don't forget that. Like, it's important that we hold people to account for their previous statements as well as, you know, these are not, their statements are in many cases actions. Because what does a banker state action? What does a banker do outwardly when when they make a statement? Is it an action? Yes, they're getting in front of them, you know, reporter one way or the other by email or by chat or by in-person interviews or whatever it is, and they're giving these statements which are effectively actions by the bank, especially if the statements themselves line up with actual actions. Like they say we are making a JPM coin. Check it out. They are in fact making a JPM coin, and they say it will be in use, you know, and they will be using it internally. Okay, so those are their statements, which are a form of action. It's not just their words, right? Because if the bank isn't a person, it's an entity. Well, you judge an entity on its actions, which include its statements, because it's not a person, right? There's no individual, even though it's an individual making the statements, it's making the statements on behalf of the bank, right? Because ultimately, if you try to hold the banker responsible for anything, no, it's not me, it's the bank. And if you try to hold the bank responsible for anything, they get a bailout. Right? I mean, that's the irony of it all. But that's just the reality of it all, too. So, JP Morgan, folks, that's the story I really wanted to bring to you. Like, if you have any questions about it, leave them in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this whole thing. It's Friday. I'm sure you got a lot of things going on. Heading into the weekend. I hope you all have an amazing weekend and that the crypto market is good to you. Let's remember where this whole thing wraps up into, into marketing, right? Is, again, the story arc is part of their marketing story arc. First they resist it and ultimately they love it. And there's this whole thing in between that happens where they're resist it, or ridicule it, and then resist it, and then deny it, or ridicule, deny, resist, and then adhere to or adopt, right? So it's always that way. And we're now in the stage where they've ridiculed it and denied it, or denied it and ridiculed it, and resisted it, and now they're starting to turn the tide where they're starting to shift from resisting it to adopting it, right? And that's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. They're just waiting for the sentiment to be correct, and they're checking all kinds of sentiment measurement tools and market tools and price tools and number of prospects on the market. They're checking all kinds of data and doing the work for us. Thank you very much, JP Morgan and other big banks who are investing all that time and resource to know when's the right time to buy and sell. Your trick as a retail investor, what the big banks like to call the dumb money, isn't that nice? They like to call you dumb. Your trick as an investor or a marketing person who is pushing forward campaigns related to crypto and blockchain is to know, when the time is turning or when the tide is turning and when the timing is right to shift modes from prospecting to lead generation to sales and all that. And if you're not aware of that, you might miss the very big boat, which is a coming. So be aware and do your marketing right, because it will pay off in droves if you are marketing now when the bears are in town, and if you are ready to basically take advantage of the next bull run when that starts to take off. So, okay, again, folks, thank you. Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about, well, this is actually what's, okay. Hang on. Before we end this show, we're going to review something that's actually kind of important. What impact does this have on Bitcoin and XRP? Okay. Yeah. So, good question. How does JPM Coin impact XRP and Bitcoin, especially if JPM claims that they have enough, big clients and big everything, and obviously they have massive assets under management. How will this impact Bitcoin? How will this impact XRP? If the whole purpose of XRP is to send international remittances, and now if you bank with JP Morgan, you don't really need that, and your business with XRP is mostly to send routine payments to the same banks on a regular basis, and that's how you're going to save money. Why wouldn't you just use JPM to move your money without any fees? You don't have to move it through XRP. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to get another company involved, right? Well, turns out there is quite a number of data and analysis that indicates that if a bank makes a coin, then it's anything other than what JP Morgan is doing as an internal stable coin pegged to the US dollar, which by itself is crazy because the dollar depreciates a couple percent every year. But okay, so they're making a depreciating cryptocurrency pegged to a fiat, right, for internal purposes only. If they made any other kind of crypto, it would be doomed to failure. Even if they claim that many of their banking clients will be happy to use it, they'll be happy to use it internally at JP Morgan as a way to save money on their JP Morgan bill. That's why they'll be happy to use it, right? They're not going to be happy to use it to send payments directly to other clients of theirs who aren't JP Morgan customers, because they won't be able to. And even if they could, they wouldn't want to. Why? Because they don't want to use another bank's product to deal with their customers. Certainly not if it's not white labeled, right? Certainly not if it's in the name of JP Morgan, right? And if you're like the Bank of Dubuque or whatever, is there a bank? Is there a Bank of Dubuque? Anyway, you don't want to be using the JP Morgan coin for your customers, right? Unless you think that would do good things for your brand, which is kind of weird to imagine that using someone else's brand as like the main title of your product would be somehow your brand, right? In XRP's case, it's different because in most cases, the customer has no idea they're using XRP. It's internally within the banking system or the money transfer system. Western Union soon and Swift soon. Just think about that. Swift and Swift and Western Union are going to be using XRP. You could not write better PR for XRP than that. So is JPM Coin going to threaten XRP and their ability to do international remittances? Absolutely not. Companies are still going to need a way to send money to non-JP Morgan customers internationally, and even to other JP Morgan customers locally or internationally that they don't want to send money to through JP Morgan for whatever reason. Right? They might have multiple bank accounts and prefer to send it with a different bank, right? For whatever reason. Or they might just prefer to send Bitcoin as their form of payment. Because guess what? With Bitcoin, you don't need a bank. You don't need a conversion system. You just send the Bitcoin. It's done. So JP Morgan Coin will not threaten Bitcoin. JP Morgan Coin or JPM Coin will not threaten XRP. It will not really threaten any real cryptocurrency because it's not a real cryptocurrency. It's a centralized, as Vitalik Buterin would say, piece of garbage. Did he say garbage or trash? Maybe he said trash. It's a centralized piece of trash running on a very small handful of centrally, internally controlled servers. But it's not meant to be a real cryptocurrency. The fact that they're calling it one just proves how much it's intended for PR. This is just a different way to do accounting at JP Morgan internally. That's all it is. It's not a cryptocurrency. They can call it that, but it isn't that. And to call it that just evidences how very little they actually value where cryptocurrency comes from. Cryptocurrency is a resistance movement to JP Morgan, by the way, and other banks. And they are one of the main ones. There are many others. They're one of the top ones. I'm not anti-bank, by the way. I love banks. I've worked at banks. Like I appreciate banks. They're not all evil, right? Yes, there are terrible things many banks have done. I don't believe they're all evil. I still appreciate crypto for what it does. And I think that crypto is vitally important to the future of economics. And I also think that banks have a very important role to play, not for like the next few months, but for the next many years, while the world transitions to being a much more individual economy where people rely less on banks. But that doesn't mean banks will ever entirely go away, because huge corporations may prefer to always use big banks, big banking institutions, because it's, once you start getting into the billions of dollars of revenue, it's kind of hard to physically secure your assets without some kind of institutional security in place. And banks are a very good way to do that, because they have all those institutional security devices and instruments in place. Now, do they have to get more with it? Yes, they have to get more with it. They have to update a lot of their tech, and they have to do many things to improve their financial tech services. But that they're doing that. And JP Morgan and others, Citibank and Barclays and, a number of banks around the world are heavily involved in all kinds of blockchain, or not blockchain, but FinTech accelerators. Right, and some of the banks, like Citibank and others, are actually involved in, I think, Bank of New York, right? New York Bank, one of the banks. Anyway, they're heavily involved in developing their own blockchain tech beyond just their internal bank, right? So they see the benefit this has to the ecosystem, not just for their own business, but for the ecosystem around them, and when the competition is healthy, you are also likely to be healthy. So when your competition's business is growing, there's a good chance your business is growing. So it's important for banks and financial institutions who want to see future growth to be involved in some positive aspect. I don't see yet where JP Morgan is involving themselves in some intergrouping positive aspect. I mean, I know they're involved in giving speeches or whatever, but that doesn't really, that's just like sales, basically. What is it? What is a speech usually? You're sharing some research or some info, but unless it's a political speech, you're very often selling something at one of these B2B conferences, and I know that, having spoken at many of them. So yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, you're selling your knowledge, your research, your discovery, whatever it is, whatever it is you found and other people want to know, or that you think other people want to know, you're kind of selling it, right? That's the whole point of public speaking, is trying to influence people of a certain idea or ideas, or have an impact with those ideas, or share them so that other people know about it. I mean, it's a kind of a sales. I'm sorry, I'm really wandering off the beaten path here. The point is, folks, I don't think JPM Coin is going to make a massive impact on BTC and XRP. I do think JP Morgan will get increasingly involved, hopefully, in supporting real blockchain efforts by multi-party groups that are trying to improve the ecosystem. There's a number of them out there. I've obviously spoken to some off this channel and on this channel. And, we look forward to seeing more participation by big banks, not just JP Morgan, but all kinds of big and really forward-thinking banks, actually. And preferably those that don't bash Bitcoin all day while secretly buying it on the same day. you know, I think it would be healthy for the ecosystem to have other leading banks be involved, as they are becoming more, and get more of the attention than just the naysayers who are just spreading FUD in order to try to time the markets to suit their purposes, right? And they're not trying to time the market like monitor and see when it happens. They're timing the market like they're making it happen, right? Because when you move around such amounts of Bitcoin in such a tiny, or other cryptos in such a tiny market, you're literally making the market, you know? And they're one of the players who will do that. So bear that in mind. And again, I really don't mean to trash talk anyone in particular at JP Morgan, but they do have a little bit of comeuppances on this. I hate to say it. So don't be surprised if you see a lot more criticism from people saying, you know, you guys are hypocrites. You said you loved blockchain, but you trash talked Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the leading example of blockchain right now. And so to say that Bitcoin is crap, or whatever word, fraud, or whatever word they used, is to say that blockchain isn't any good, because Bitcoin is blockchain. I mean, there's other blockchains and there's other use cases, but it's by far the biggest and most tested one. Like, not even close, right? So the problem is they're fooling people who don't know better. It's not like Jamie Dimon doesn't know that Bitcoin is amazing, and so are other cryptos. Not like he doesn't know that. Of course he knows that. If he didn't know that, he wouldn't order his people to buy it. And he wouldn't order JP Morgan to make a JPM coin. Whoever gave that order, I'm sure they had his approval, right? Like, you know, how thin is their veil, and how many people can they convince? It's shocking. But people who don't know any better, they just see a quote from JP Morgan and they just believe it. That's like the law of finance or something. You know, I don't know what. They're just, you're a big name on Wall Street, say something about money. And if you don't know about money, you just believe it. Or you absolutely don't believe it, in which case that also fits their interest, because they don't want everyone to get rich, right? They want them and their friends to do well. And, you know, whoever's rich enough now to be a client, they want to help. If you're not rich enough, they don't really care, right? They want you to be rich so you can be a client. But if you're not rich, good luck. You know, and that's any bank. You know, I'm not harping on JP Morgan. That's any bank. Like, they're concerned about legitimately their shareholders' interests, how much money they got in the bank, how much profit they're making on it, what bonuses they're making. Like, it's all legit. It's all how business, you know, you can't, nothing wrong with any of that. But the only thing that there is wrong is pretending to say, you know, that something is bad when you know it's good. It's not wrong, like illegal wrong, obviously. It's perfectly legitimate, perfectly legal. It's just not ethical. At least I don't think so. Not ethical to say this sucks and then be buying it. You know, and like on purpose, not because you have to, but like investing massive amounts of money into it. It's just not ethical. That doesn't mean they're forever evil or something because they made an unethical decision. They made many unethical decisions over the years, but they've also made many good decisions over the years. JP Morgan's, again, a very successful bank for many years. It's not an accident. They do deliver value to their customers. Otherwise, their customers would not be their customers. So, but all that said, now you know how to think about that coin. Good for them. They're going to be more organized with their accounting, be more efficient, be more profitable. They get to pretend the economy is booming even more than it is for a little bit longer while they get ready to prepare for the inevitable Bitcoin and other crypto trading with their customers, right? That's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually, whether they say it or not. Look at all the other banks that are heading in that direction. Look at all the other things that are heading in the direction of using some kind of crypto solution. Inevitably, it will happen. And it's just that. So I hope you're preparing for that, and I hope that you realize you're among a very, very small percentage of people on the planet who know anything about this topic. Like, yeah, people have heard about Bitcoin at this point. Maybe a good chunk of people have heard of the name Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or something, but they have no idea what it is really. And at best, they're fair weather fans because they're not around now, right? I mean, just look at the most popular YouTube channels for crypto. Like 300,000 subscribers. That's like one of the top, maybe the top cryptocurrency channel. 300,000. There's channels that show videos about the most ridiculous things. How to, I don't know what, how to wash your hands with soap and water, or, any ridiculous, any entertainment, silly thing, that they have millions of subscribers. Now, do they put out content every single day? And some of them don't even do that. But they have millions of subscribers because they have some viral videos of some silly nonsense, and now they suddenly have this user base they can communicate with that's many times larger than the largest channel talking about cryptocurrency, which is quite probably going to be the future of money. Okay, I could be wrong. All of us could be wrong. It could be that we all just end up going to fiat, and then we all just end up going back to gold, and we all just end up going back to seashells. But I don't think so. It's going to be really hard to pay for your new car or your new house or your kid's college education with seashells or gold. It's just going to be harder. Okay, you're going to go what? You're going to go to your safe, smelt some of your gold because you got it in ingots, or shave it off with a saw and make sure you don't lose any of the dust, and then you have to smelt that dust back down into something like. What? You didn't buy gold coins, you got them in ingots or a bullion or whatever, like not usable coins. Because unless you got to spend something like $1,000 on something, it's, you can't buy groceries with gold coins. It's just a little, unless you're buying a lot of groceries, right? Or you're paying in advance for like many weeks at a time. Yeah. So, congratulations for making it through to this point and for being one of the early people in this space that I believe will be enormous. And yeah, if you think if you're one of those people who runs into people who constantly trash talk crypto all day long, that's all right. Take it in stride. Remember, there have been previous bull runs and bear runs in every market, including this one. And this one's only 10 years old. And we're already anticipating our fourth big bull, significant bull run in 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. That's, it's a very fast moving market relative to others. Even if it takes another 2 years to get to the next, high, fast velocity growth, you could be accumulating significantly until then. And if you do, when that hits, well, if the next bull run goes as strong as people think it might, and the predictions are anywhere from 10 to 30x, even 40x, I've seen something, from the last all-time highs. I think realistically, even if Bitcoin just goes to 100 grand, it's at like 3.5 grand now. If Bitcoin goes to 100 grand in the next bull cycle, bull run, whatever you want to call it, first of all, that already puts it out of reach for most people. Most people are not going to spend $100,000 of their money to own a Bitcoin. They might start buying fractions. It is arguable that once it hits an unattainable number to buy a whole Bitcoin or any crypto, that it becomes somewhat less desirable, at least for a period of time. When people start to think, I'm going to own less than one, I don't want to own it. Psychologically, people want to own a whole one if they want to invest in something, right? That's why a lot of people buy really cheap coins that they can get many of, because they think that somehow I have 1 million of these bubble coins, and these bubble coins, if they ever go up to, half a penny, I'll be fantastically wealthy, or whatever. They don't do the math. They don't realize that having 1 million of these bubble coins doesn't give them necessarily value the same way that their Bitcoin might have value, right? So they're not calculating the investment value well enough. But arguably, if you had invested in altcoins in the bull run of 2017 and sold at the all-time highs, you would have done way better, not arguably, factually, you would have done way better by investing in a number of successful altcoins than you would have by investing in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was more stable in the bull run of 2017. Believe it or not, like despite that crazy hyperbolic run, and that's another reason to understand that the next bull run could easily go, even though I don't even necessarily think it will, but it could easily get to 200 grand of Bitcoin if it 10x's the last all-time high. Why? Well, because Bitcoin, again, is less volatile than the other altcoins. So a 10x is not so outrageously unbelievable. It's already fallen 85% or whatever, to the lows of January, between the highs of January last year to the lows of January this year, or the highs of December 17 to the lows of January 19. It's already fallen like 85%. Right? And it could easily fall another 5-10% from those highs. Well, that means that it needs to already go like 8x just to get back to where it was at the all-time high. But it's done that before, multiple times. And it's likely to do that again, right? We don't have no proof of it. Previous action does not indicate future action. But cycles are cycles. And sometimes they're cyclical. And they keep happening that way. And sometimes they don't surprise you so much when you are doing the foresight and the planning ahead of time. And it can be quite easy to do your own manipulation. Invest at the right time when you think it's worth it, whether you're doing dollar cost averaging or investing in specific key points. Whatever strategy works for you, or you're doing a bit of both, or you're just whatever, you're slingshotting it, whenever you feel like it. Whatever strategy works for you, great. And the same thing goes for your, like the same thing really goes for the marketing. You need to put more thought into the marketing. You can't just wing it. There are some that do, and that do well, but they are extremely rare. You should not expect to be lucky enough to be viral without effort, right? Virality usually requires significant effort in marketing. And that goes for marketing crypto projects as well as for marketing silly content. But again, so to wrap that up is the idea that like you are one in a very small number of people when you consider that millions of people subscribe to just celebrity content or viral content or silly cat meme content or whatever it is. Right? There are channels that have millions upon millions of subscribers organically. Right? Of course, many channels have bought subscribers, but a bunch of them have organically millions and millions of followers, far more than any crypto channel, which is quite telling about the state of humanity. Everyone's always like, yeah, buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. Everyone says that. Like, literally less than 1% of the people you know actually do that. The herd mentality is your exploit, if you will. Use it. The herd mentality buys high and sells low. And that's why they're always running in the negative on the whole. That's why they're so in debt on the whole, because they don't buy when prices are low. They do what everyone else is doing. Why do prices go low? Because there's too much of a supply, not enough of a demand. When does it happen? That happens when there's literally just a glut in the market of some commodity or thing that people like, but they don't really care about it that much. Or there's a panic. And that's exactly what happened in December of 2017 and in January of 2018. And that panic spread like wildfire. And from shooting up, 10x in a 6-month period, or whatever, 5-month period, 6-month period, to crashing down 85% within half a year or so, a year, whatever. Yeah, well, got to 85% like within around 12, 13 months. So the crash is longer and slower, which means you can take advantage of the next bear run, even this one, by knowing that the movement's down. Even though you have sharp fall-offs, the overall market goes down for a longer time, it feels like, and it looks like on the chart, than it actually takes for it to shoot back up again once it hits that low and starts climbing up, right? It climbs for a little while, gets its velocity, and then it just accelerates and goes hyperbolic. And then it's done that multiple times. It could do that again. Will it? I don't know. Maybe not. But you know what? It's Friday, and I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's been a long show already for just talking about one topic, pretty much, the JPM Coin and how it all ties into marketing of crypto and blockchain. But I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed it, and I want to thank everybody again for supporting us with any kind of subscribes or likes or comments or just views, whatever you're doing. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, a great time, and making the most of it. And I just want to remind you guys again, if you want, you can head on over to patreon.com, and links to all the pages, including this one, the Patreon one, will be in the description. And on Patreon, you can choose to support us if you want. I know people have been critical of Patreon not long ago, and some still are, because they've been accused of censoring and this and that. So if you're not comfortable using Patreon, don't use Patreon. We also have crypto channel, crypto addresses you can donate to if you want to support the channel. And if you do, you get all kinds of really cool stuff from us, including marketing services and lots of swag. So check it out. Do what you like. No support is required, of course. We hope you just enjoy these videos and listen. But if you do care to support us, we appreciate it more than you can know, because it really helps us to produce more content, get things more polished, hopefully, get better research done, and to produce information that you can use actionably in your life to hopefully get you towards crushing your goals. And yeah, as a digital marketer, I sincerely hope that you benefit from all of these ways that we talk about and that we discuss right here on Marketing Insights. So again, if you're on our channel on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell button, and yeah, share, comment, let us know what you think. Really appreciate you stopping by. Once again, this is Yasha Harari. I appreciate you being here. And folks, until next time, I got to remind you before I go, ha ha ha, or else someone will say to me, you didn't say that thing. That's right. Do your own research. Invest only in things you understand fully. Do not invest in anything you can't afford to lose. There's a very high likelihood in crypto you might lose everything because it is speculative. This is not a financial advice show. I am not a financial advisor. You are responsible for your own actions. And this show is for entertainment only. Okay then, folks. Till next time, take care.